How was Egypt? What would you say? How was it for you generally? Starting from the point of where you're staying, going all the way to the stadium, how was it being in Egypt?
I will start with the heat. During the day between 9 and around 6, it's 40 plus degrees. It was that hot. When we got there, Mombasa is not hot. Egypt is super hot to a point where they have ACs still in the toilets. So when we got to apartment, we checked in. Then we got there around morning, 3 a.m.
Yes.
The first thing that really got us, Egyptians are colonized by the British.
Yes.
But those guys don't speak English. Unless it is about money. That is when you'll say, bring phone, type Mount 7070.
Yes.
You're like, okay, then the first thing the Egyptians will tell you, I don't know speaking English.
Yes.
You're like, if you're not speaking English, how do you know what I was saying?
Yes.
So the first thing an Egyptian will tell you, no speaking, not understanding English, but when it is money you've taken an Uber, they will know the price. The second thing was their food. Getting access to their food was a bit challenging. And what you get, like what our traditional ugali, theirs has salt. So when you're cooking it, it has salt.
What do you mean by that?
The flour itself has salt.
It's salted before?
Yes, it's salted. So once you cook it, it has too much salt. So the trick is, when you're cooking either your protein or your vegetables, you don't put salt. Because now it will be too much salt is in the food. Then you see, like back home here, when let's say you have your red meat, you boil it first for it to soften. But that side, in Egypt, I don't know there's something about their protein. If you boil it without oil, it will be so hard. So we needed to have learned that trick. And that trick, we got it 3 days after. Our landlord decided now he's really going to help us because he speaks a little bit of English.
Yes.
But they are friendly. It was exciting being in Cairo. Wow. Then comes to their driving. I don't know if those guys teach themselves how to drive via apps. And the only thing that stops those Uber drivers or anybody who's driving is a pavement. There are no bumps in Cairo. There are no speed bumps. There's no bumping, and all roads are highways. There are like 4, 5, 6 lanes. So the only thing that will stop a driver is a pavement. And before you get to a pavement, you know what is that. So there are always accidents. It's a normal occurrence. Accidents are a normal occurrence because it's a pavement that has stopped you. And they're always on phone when they're driving. And you can't tell them, first of all, if you're a lady, you can't tell them that, please put your phone down. Then they look like foreigners because they don't know most of their roads. So they always have to be on the app, the Uber app, checking where are we going. So by the time he checks his phone looking down, then he looks on the road, he's already bumped into a car or he's on a pavement, so he has to stop.
Okay.
Yes. Now, interesting, you guys said you went all the way to Cairo and decided to make ugali. Did any of you actually eat Egyptian food? What was that experience? Did you go to an Egyptian restaurant? What's the home food like?
We actually tried Egyptian street food. It's quite interesting, but everything they do, they add what they call chapat, but it's very dry, and their food is very, very hot. And what I noticed about their street food is, I mean, it's so cheap. It's available, and that's downtown now. They call it downtown Katamea. There's anything you want, you'll find there. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Mike,
I'm still waiting for the stories behind the story.
The stories behind the stories.
The stories behind the stories. Because by the time you leave Nairobi, you're going to Egypt, you land there, book an apartment. Kumbuka fan ID ni tabu tayari. So if an ID ni shida, accommodation, I mean, getting a place knowing where to stay, people segmented, huyu anaishi Kayole, mwingine Kawangware, mwingine anaishi Naivasha. I mean, how was the coordination? That's what I'm really interested in. And looking at some of you are members of Kenya Football Fans Association, what was the association's role? What role did they play in terms of getting to know how many people would be there? And looking at other countries, they worked closely with their governments to even say, guys, this is a group of fans that are going. Look at Algeria, for example. The fans organized themselves and went to the government and said, give us chartered planes at subsidized rates. Tunaenda kuwatch game kama tumerudi. I mean, what did we do? How well did we organize ourselves?
As far as organization is concerned, we have our members. So first we had to look for corporate sponsorship. We spoke with the government. SportPesa came on board and they were willing to support us, and we worked hand in hand with the ministry also. So they gave us a budget of about 200 funds, and it was now our duty to allocate these funds. How are we going to bring them on board? So we had some coming from Governor Sonko, Senator Malala, and now the Kenya Football Fans Federation. On the Kenya Football Fans Federation, we formed a WhatsApp group for easy communication and application of visa.
Wait, 200 funds were sponsored by the government?
No.
Or, hey, Bill,
no, on that. See, you know there are things we don't mention.
Yes.
We have to mention and give credit where it's due. We have to, as an organization, we have to thank SportPesa. We approached them. They took very little time to make the decision either to sponsor us or not. Within 3 days, they had already given the decision, 200 of us. Luckily, I reached Egypt some 2 days before. So when you asked of the organization, I'd already been there, got the apartments. By the time the entire team was landing, we had 2 buses waiting for them, although they were coming in groups. As in the first batch came of about 80 of our fans. So when they reached the airport, they got a bus waiting for them. They got apartments already booked for them. Luckily, they were booked online. So on the issue of how we settled in Egypt was a bit eased by a few of us who were earlier there. What do you mean, as in?
I mean, we've had this show for 37 shows. I mean, we've had 27 shows. This is the first time in Askia, fans walikuwa sponsored kuenda Egypt.
Yes, we were sponsored. And SportPesa did it, booked our tickets, cleared us. They gave us the easier passage to the embassy. We were waited there. In fact, they worked over their working hours. We have to also commend the Egyptian embassy.
Okay. Yeah. Now, hold it there. Your chairman spoke about funds coming from Senator Malala, funds coming from Senator Sonko, I mean Governor Sonko. How was this is a different set of funds again?
Yes. Now I'll speak about the Kenya Football Funds segment. Now we formed a WhatsApp group. We all met at the airport after getting our visas. And the flights were booked directly by SportPesa, which we still continue to thank them. Now at the airport, we were flagged off by our governor, Honorable Sonko, and our patron, Honorable Musyoka. They came at the airport, and they also gave us some additional money to help us in Cairo, as far as accommodation and food is concerned. Now we boarded our flight. We were using 2 airlines, Air Arabia and Etihad.
I'm still not clear on the bit of the funds who came through Governor Sonko, the ones who came through Senator Malala. I know of the 200 sponsorship that we're talking about. Are these the same funds again?
No.
It's separate?
It's separate.
What were these numbers?
So on Kefofa side, we had 40 funds. 40 funds from Kenya Football Funds Federation, which we picked from various counties. And they're the ones whom we traveled with. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's a bit clear. Lakini imechezwa chini Billy. Mlicheza chini.
You know, Kenya. Let's just give credit where it's due.
Yes.
Hats off to the Governor Sonko for what he did. You know, what I always describe Governor Sonko as someone who's not that wealthy, but he's got a big heart. How many people found their time to come to the airport and give us $200 each for our trip? Yamfuko. How many? But Sonko took his time and personally came.
Isma kwanza amesema nikusalimia sana.
No, Isma team manager.
Amesema wewe ni best yake sana
nikusalimia. No, mimi si best. We are just Kenyans. No, we are Kenyans who know each other. No, Simruki. We are Kenyans who know each other. Yes. Fortunately enough, he's the team manager. Unfortunately enough, I'm a fan.
No, amesema wewe ni best yake.
No, the way you bring it as if.
Hakutaja hata TM. Nimesema tu isimame kusalimia.
Umesema TM.
Nikakwambia TM, kwa sababu umeniangalia isimama gani?
No, there are several Ismans, so you have to clarify ujue
ni. Mtu wa watu.
Mike, I still can't get over how much he looks and sounds like Fred. As in, it's still like.
Let me tell you. Let me give you a story of how confusing it can get. One time, FC Leopards had elections. Yeah. Who was picked as a returning officer?
It was Fred.
Fred was picked. Ngoja. Billy was picked as the returning officer. How it ended up that Fred was the one kwa kiwanja and not Billy is still confusing until today.
I wish you asked me, I'll answer that.
Now, tell us that story today.
I was the one picked as the returning officer. I'm the one I'm the one who presided.
He is confused. He's saying that it was...
But he's working with twins. What do you expect? I'm the one who did the presiding.
Yes.
Because Fred, surely with the nature of his job, you not do such. Yes. So I'm the one who did all that. But I think we are here for the Cup of Nations.
No, we want to know that story.
But I've cleared it. I'm the one who, I was the returning officer.
Yes.
I'm the one who presided it. I'm the one who did all that. Although it had issues that...
Nani alibebwa na mafan? Ni wewe ama ni Fred?
Fred was nowhere there, surely. With the nature of his job, he would not do that.
Fred, let me give him a pass. Let me ease up on him.
Sorry, madam, come in.
Ease up on him.
Let me tell you, the reason why I can speak to Billy like that is because from my shags to where their mom comes from.
We are neighbors.
It's actually neighbors. I can actually walk to their boma. So I know them from that long. Their big brother, Tom, was a very good friend of mine. The late Tom. I worked with him elsewhere and we were tight. We were very good friends.
In fact, you attended the burial.
Sports.
Yes.
Sports, it's a sports family.
No. Him was in media.
Okay.
These ones are in sports. Yeah.
Okay.
Attended the burial.
Now, remember, just to give you a sense of our question of the day, it's about local coaches, and considering that both teams in the final right now have a local coach. Kelvin Lipinda says, I think it's high time we have faith in our local coaches. Sisi has been able to build Senegal to the top. Gostmule brought us Oliet, Mariga. I believe in African coaches. Then we have Brian Montestioka. I find that 27 episodes in, I've learned how to pronounce his name. It's very evident that our coaches are not appreciated, but it's clear that they're exceeding expectations of many. So I think we should start using our own coaches instead of going for the foreigners, paying a lot of money to them and ending up with poor results. Then we have Chris Sunday. Mike, remember he was also on the show, one of the episodes. African coaches are not underrated. What hinders them from performing is political interference and manipulation by the national federations, as is the case with Kenya. However, we need to note that both Belmadi and Cisse are African, but trained for their coaching badges in Europe. Then we have Dante Mwano says, local coaches get little respect in Africa. They lack consideration from African confederations, but they are capable of thinking, motivating a team, having a plan for the game. Then we have Everest Moja. I personally think African coaches can do it the best because they do it out of passion and for the love of their countries. So just keep your feedback.
Okay, Jane, I want to ask a question that somebody has just sent me and told me, ask the people in studio. Amesema nikuulize wewe. Football fans love their alcohol. These two things go hand in hand. I mean, it's all over the world. It's not just here. I mean, if you check out the World Cup, even when it's played in countries where it's very restrictive, they sort of regulate and ease off on the alcohol. Egypt, with their strict nature, was there any alcohol anywhere? Where was it sold? How was it?
Okay, there was alcohol. It's very hard to find it. Being a Muslim country, it's very hard to find it. You'd go to a joint and you can take everything. There's shisha, but there's no alcohol, no beer, no nothing.
That's a club in Egypt?
Yeah, not even a club, a place to eat like Komol or something. But there's one club. You should know people. We found out a club and we went out. Okay, but nearing the last days, the alcohol is funny, kama ya Kariobangi, sorry to say. Yeah. It has high percentages, like 50, 40, and funny. Johnny Walker there is called Johnny Waller or something like that. Yeah. But there was alcohol. But it's very hard to find it. And towards the end is when we discovered that when we came with our visas, 48 hours, we still had time to go to a certain mall and buy alcohol duty free, but we discovered it later on. So,
and how was the security generally? Because that's something also that really stood out in terms of that ability. When you talked about you guys going out at night, walking around, how's the security generally?
Security generally is good. I didn't hear of any cases of anyone being mugged or anything, or even and the people on the street. So, yeah. It's just, it's a good place. There's tight security, by the way.
Richard, 4 searches before you enter the stadium. How was that?
One thing I noticed is that Egyptians, the Egyptian government, they don't play around with security. You are frisked from way back. Even before you get close to the stadium, you will feel the presence of the police force. And it was one thing that I would really love if the Kenyan government will emulate such, because you find that hooliganism takes a toll on the Kenyan fraternity, making fans, genuine fans, sports lovers, not to attend matches. Because people fear for their own security. But as for Egypt, they've taken it in...
Felt safe.
You really could feel safe.
Inside and outside the pitch.
All over.
Actually,
I have a question for the ladies.
The reason behind that, Mukami, just before we go into that, sorry. The reason behind that is that you should know the Egyptian league is played under closed doors. When the matches are played, closed doors. Only CAF matches, they allow some fans in. This is the reality. Because they've got crazy fans out there. They cause so much chaos. Their league was so disrupted, they decided to restrict the numbers. All right? So with all these beautiful stadia that they have and almost each team being next or owning a stadia, it is a problem that they learned the hard way. That unless you restrict and be very hard on the fans, kitaumana. So that is an experience from their own league, how it has happened. Look at even when Gor went to play there. I mean, you'll see the restriction on the number of fans that they allow into the stadium. It is something that they have gotten used to it. But one of the things that I would like to know from our football fans is, Mukami, if you look at the studio, count how many jerseys we have. I'm seeing Over Armour, I am seeing Adidas, I am seeing, I don't know which other one that we are wearing. Surely. How difficult is it even to get... I would excuse if we had the old Alsport, that is Roba ameweka kwa ukuta pale. Alsport hiyo tunakubali. Hizi Adidas hizi imbo zinatoka wapi? Over Armour, Adidas, all that. Where are we getting them from? Wacha chairman anajibu hiyo swali.
I think I can come in on that.
Na umevaa imbo wewe mwenyewe.
Nimevaa imbo. I will plead to the federation to put up good structures when it comes to the jerseys. People have been begging, or people have been saying that they need these jerseys for the past 3 good years. Until when it comes just recently.
And the cost?
And the cost again is too high, 3,500.
You umevaa ulinunua pesa ngapi?
This one I bought in the year 2011 when you are going to Kampala. So to me it's like a souvenir. And I like it. When I put it on, we normally have good luck, especially the Harambee Stars.
Yes.
So me,
how much was it?
By that time we bought, so it was 1,000 bob. So I'll just urge the federation to lower the prices, which a normal manager can buy. Maybe 800 Kenya shillings or 1,000 bob. We have masses. We have a lot of people out there who love football and who love Harambee Stars, and they like to be in Harambee Stars regalia. On the same issue of the jersey, again I'd like to urge our government of Kenya to come up with a traditional regalia. Like Algeria, like Senegal, like Nigeria, like Ghana, they have a replica. Huyu jamaa tunajua ni fan wa Cameroon, wa Ghana. All of them in the same attire.
But we have the Kenya traditional regalia. It was long
We
time
have, but
ago.
they came late. They came late, and again the price is just too high. 3,500 to a common mwananchi. They should just lower the price.
So that is basically the original jersey.
Yes.
There is no replica.
There's no replica.
I hope Isma anasikia hiyo story juu Isma is watching. Isma ambia mdosi. Hii is a replica bei yao ni noma. 3,500. It should go to how much?
1,000.
1,000 bob guys are comfortable.
1,000 is comfortable to a common Russia fan.
And this should be done before the next game. Bado tunacheza na Tanzania?
Yeah, on
Vile unaenda
28th.
Tanzania?
God willing, I'll be there. God willing, I'll be there, my friend. I will be there. But we have to, we as much as we are condemning the government, for once, I don't know, the last time head of state, Kenyan head of state, made a call to players. I can't remember. You know, we would want to bash the government, we'd want to bash the federation. This time we were given almost everything. Okay, let's just be sincere.
Tulipewa kila kitu.
We were given everything.
Hiyo tutaongea hiyo tukiconclude. Sasa leo tunamaliza? Tutaongea hiyo.
For sure.
Hiyo tutaongea hapo.
Quick fire, the number is up. So as we're getting a call, just to the ladies, as you guys have been mentioning, it's a very reserved country. How was it for you guys walking on the streets? Did you have to dress differently in terms of, did you have to be conscious with what you're wearing, like no short skirts, and how was that?
Yes and no. There were areas that we could dress comfortably. By comfortably, I mean we could dress like we in Lamu.
Because of the heat.
Because of the heat.
Yes.
But there were areas we could not. Okay, let me just say, in the malls, when you are on day we were not having matches, we go around the malls, you could see the way we were being looked at, because 3/4 of the women there were in buibus and they were covering their heads, they're in socks, they're in sports shoes. The stares that they were giving us was obvious, but the stares were a bit friendly. But there were areas we were being told, like in downtown, we were being told when you're going to the markets and it's on market day, you have to be in something above the knee.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I think what I realized with Egypt, there's a section of at Cairo. Cairo is quite huge. There's the new Cairo and
Old Cairo.
Yes, the old Cairo. So even the building architecture is sort of old-fashioned, and sort of also the crowd there or the people. So if you are in downtown, definitely you would watch what you're dressed in. But if you're in New Cairo, I mean, even the residents there put on, shorts and all that. And of course you'd get the stares, because also how we are built is not how the women are built. So there would be those and stares.
Diplomatic way of putting it.
The beauty of it
Very
is that,
diplomatic way.
yeah, the beauty of it is that they appreciate that. They're like, we are all Africans, we want photos. For the first time, people would come and say, we want photos with you. So it was quite an interesting experience, yeah.
Yeah, especially that part for photos, and they were fascinated by our hair.
Okay.
Because most of us had braids on. You'd see kids coming, they just want to touch. Then the parents will be like, photo picture? Then you're like, yeah. So they really liked our hair because their hair is what do I say? Warabu. They're like kind of white. So our kinky hair was fascinating them.
Wait, before we get back to that conversation, I hear we have a caller on the line. Evans from Embu.
Yes.
Hi, Evans. How are you?
I'm fine. Hello?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Now, do you know the rules of quickfire?
Yeah, I know the rules.
Yeah, I'll just ask you 12 questions. If you get 8 correctly, I have 5,000 Kenya shillings here in my pocket. Niako.
Okay.
Okay. So let me have the timer. In total, how many matches will be played at AFCON?
52.
What number is the match between Nigeria and Tunisia?
52. Oh, 51. 51, sorry.
Which stadium has hosted the most matches?
Cairo International.
How many matches has it hosted?
Pass.
How many players scored for Kenya in AFCON?
3.
Who scored the least number of goals for Kenya?
Pass.
In how many stadiums did Kenya play at AFCON?
1.
Which groups still have teams playing at AFCON?
Group C.
From which group did Tunisia qualify from?
Pass.
Which African coaches remaining in contention have played at AFCON?
Pass.
How many does he have? 2. There's a VAR is happening. Remember, even in the African Cup of Nations from quarterfinals, we've had VAR. So there's VAR happening at the moment.
Hiyo ndio hesabu umetuwekea leo. Mathematics at its best.
I was told yesterday my questions were too easy. So I've tried to mix it up a bit, but I think they're still easy.
Now, if you watched AFCON and if you watched all the matches, I mean, it should be pretty straightforward. Okay. I think nimepata maswali kama 5 hivi hapo ama 6.
Mike, there's somebody, as we wait for another caller, somebody's asking a question here. The criterion that was used to select the fans to travel to Egypt, what criterion was used? So, for example, Kenya is going to face off against Tanzania. Is there something lined up? Usually, what would happen?
I mean, before getting into the stadium?
No, for traveling, the entire process of how you select the fans. How does one, if somebody is interested in traveling?
See, for this time, we had limited numbers. Okay. So we were told 40.
Okay.
And we had to pick one each from every county.
Okay.
Plus some officials.
Okay,
yes.
Let's get another caller. Evans, we here got 2 correctly after VAR has been done. Said from Embu. People will say this is Ubaguzi.
Embu. You're picking calls from your county mates.
Quick fire.
I see what you did.
Said, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you know the rules of quick fire?
Yes.
Just reduce the volume on your television.
Yeah.
So that we can hear you correctly and you can also hear the questions.
I just did that.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you 12 questions. If you get 8 correctly, you get 5,000 Kenya shillings.
Okay.
Okay. So can I have that? Are you ready? Okay. Let's have the counter.
All right.
In total, how many matches will be played at AFCON?
52.
What number is the match between Nigeria and Tunisia?
51.
Which stadium has hosted the most matches?
June 31st.
How many matches has it hosted?
Pass.
How many players scored for Kenya in AFCON?
3.
Who scored the least number of goals for Kenya?
Pass.
In how many stadiums did Kenya play at AFCON?
3.
Which groups still have teams playing at AFCON?
B.
From which group did Tunisia qualify from?
Pass.
Which African coaches remaining in contention have played at AFCON? Said.
Yes.
How many has he gotten? 2. Pole sana. Both of them 2.
Mbili kama kawaida.
Mbili.
How much is it now?
I guess now it goes to 10,000 Kenya shillings tomorrow. So, up for grabs 10,000 Kenya shillings. I don't know if people will still want me to continue the quick fire.
Even if they go into Google now. Because you know what I realize? People have Google in front of them.
So the net sometimes fluctuates. By the time you're trying to search, the next question has checked in.
By the way, by the time you say pass, it's crazy.
That timer going off in your head.
Mike, let's just get the final words. Your overall experience from each and every person as we wind up of Egypt. You can start with Grace.
I think for me, the experience of going to, for the real African experience of football was quite, beyond imagination. But one thing that I noted about Egypt, they really take their structures very seriously in terms of stadiums. They have the facilities. And I also noted that most of the African teams, their former players are still in the system. Guys like Fadiga, Diouf, Senegal. So I think it's something that as a country we could maybe take home. We need to encourage our players to take up coaching, maybe, and always stay in the system for continuity.
Okay.
Overall experience was good. but east or west, home is best. I thank God for Kenya, because there's one day I looked for a swimming pool for a whole day. I ended up swimming on a ship. So yeah, but it was overall, the experience was good, and we thank God.
Pause. You swam in a ship?
Yes, I did.
In what context? How did that happen?
It had docked. Okay. So we looked for a swimming pool. No, we looked for a swimming pool the whole day. My friends got tired, but me, I'm those people of I want and I have to have. So they took another Uber home back to the apartment, and I went searching, and finally I got a place, and I paid like 150 200 ya huko
Egyptian pounds.
Yeah, Egyptian pounds.
Can be doing the calculation.
That's 1200. It's like 1200, 1400 there, and you're given a room. As a tourist in Egypt, it is so hard to swim. You can't get a place to swim. When you go to a hotel, they're renovating their pool. It was just crazy. I just thank God for Kenya, because I think Kenya, you can just walk in anywhere and just swim as long as you can pay.
Debatable. That is debatable. Yes.
My overall experience is that Egypt was beautiful. I loved the people. They were very friendly, and being a historical country, I loved traveling to go see the pyramids.
Yes.
The Suez Canal was equally very interesting, and it made me realize that part of the Bible really exists, because you find that things like pyramids are mentioned in the Bible. So it was a good experience to even just go and watch and cheer Kenya take part in the Cup of Nations.
Okay.
Various points. First,
1 point. 1 point.
1 point.
Yes.
Just requesting our government and sponsors to continue supporting the football fans, because we really need to be on the pitch to support our players in any tournament.
Okay.
Infrastructure-wise, as Kenyans, the government, if there's a way we can support local football, let's do it. Let's support the grassroots football, because in Kenya, when there's a match, the security is a lot. The security is over-exaggerated. There are no stadiums. Like when Kenya hosted Everton, the Everton Kariobangi, they only opened 2 gates at Kasarani, but the security was over-exaggerated. In Egypt, the security matches their stadiums. If we can support the local grassroots football, we can go far, because Kenya, we're exporting a lot of football talent. Their visas are being stamped exit at the airport and their passport. Where is that money going from? If we can invest in local football, we will get so far.
Take home, invest in local football.
On this side?
Overall experience. One,
just
the
one.
fan ID. I think it's high time our government or the federation invest on the fan ID. Why? Hooliganism is keeping away people from coming to the stadium. So I think it's the right time if the government can invest on the fan ID thing in Kenya, so that we can identify if it's Bernard or Mukami or Okinyi, we support you. Number 2, I'll also urge the parliamentary committee on sports to fast track that motion of making sure that fans have an authority body, just like the sports stadia body. I was surprised to see countries like Egypt, they have good system. Nigeria, Senegal, they have even a kitty for fans.
So wanataka pesa ya serikali kurana mafans?
Exactly.
Sawa, shikilia tu hapo. Bile?
Mine, I just have to appreciate the government, both SportPesa and the government. The role the SportPesa played was excellent. I have to appreciate the government. They took their time. They pumped in the required money.
250.
Yeah. We just have to appreciate that. And also have to thank the president for making a call to the players. That was a morale booster. That's why we beat Tanzania. Take it from me. He made a call. I wish he made the other calls for the other matches. We could have won.
Well, Tanzania was not all about calls only. There was a lot at stake. I mean, we knew when you're going to, I'll say it again, we knew when you're going for the Cup of Nations that our objective was simple. Don't finish at the bottom of the group. Make sure you beat Tanzania. Anything else, bonus. After that game, we should have just come home. I mean, it would have been better. Tungepigwa tu fine, lakini ni sawa. Losing to Senegal, there's no shame in that. Losing to Algeria, there's no shame in that. The shame is in how we lost. Lose fighting. Don't lose locking up the game. Let's stick to what we have to do. Remember, the next fixture for Harambee Stars, 27th, we're in Dar es Salaam playing in the CHAN qualifiers. They've got a lot to pick with us. The advantage is a week later, we are back at Kasarani. Let's fill up Kasarani, let's support the Harambee Stars, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Viva Africa takes a break for now. Good afternoon.
Okay, quickfire up to 10,000 tomorrow. And of course, the African Cup of Nations is also back tomorrow. It's Nigeria taking on Tunisia in match 51. That's one of the answers from the quickfire, Bernard.
Right, and of course, from the Kenyan fans who joined us this afternoon, thank you again so much. Hopefully, you'll travel and support the team in their next fixture against Tanzania. For the gentleman behind the scenes there, DJ Khalif, he preferred to be quite silent today. Just watch the proceedings. Thank you as well for providing a soundtrack to the show. And continue watching the show, continue the discussion online. Remember, we're asking you, as far as local coaches are concerned, 2 local coaches for Algeria and Senegal have sent their respective teams to the final. What do you think about that? Do you think that African coaches are underrated? Let's continue the conversation. Enjoy your afternoon. See you again tomorrow.